Our region's business is sponsored by PNC Bank, solutions that help you achieve your goals in life. PNC, leading the way. And by Heron Tillotson, a history of meticulous wealth management since 1948. Our region's business, innovation, transformation, momentum, improving our communities and driving technologies that will shape our region for generations. The collaboration that brings vitality, prosperity, and life to living. Stay with us for the coming half hour as we examine in depth our region's business. Now, here's your host, Bill Flanagan.
Today on Our Region's Business, how healthcare helps to carry our region's economy when times get tough. Plus, big plans take wing at the National Aviary in Pittsburgh. But first, the national November job numbers were awful. December is likely to be worse. And economists are saying that 2009 may feel more like a recession even here in our region. Rather than looking for a new job, those who've lost one or fear they might may be considering starting a business of their own. So is this the time to do it? And how do you know? Well, Joe Ott is here to shed some light on those questions. He's chair of the Institute for Entrepreneurial Excellence at the Cat School at the University of Pittsburgh. And welcome. Good to see you.
Thank you, Bill. Nice to be here.
Yeah, and we should mention out of the gate that you're a pretty experienced entrepreneur yourself, having just sold a business last summer after a significant success.
We sold our company Acclimation Systems in July of this year to a company called Ebix, and they renamed our company Ebix Health. And we were having a record year this year where sales were up about 20% and our profits were up about 100%.
Unbelievable. And I take it before the economic meltdown began in the second half of the year.
Everyone thinks our timing was immaculate. It couldn't have been any better. If we had tried to sell the company as much as 60 days later, we couldn't have got half of the money we did. We received the money that we asked for to the penny, and it was just a great situation.
Unbelievable. Company been around for how long?
We formed the company in 1989. I was a co-founder with my friend John Babb, and our company designed computer systems for people who managed employee benefits, and the company that bought us wanted some presence in the healthcare sector, and we could tell that they wanted us badly because the negotiations went so smoothly. From letter of intent to close was only 5 weeks.
Unbelievable. Well, and you're a serial entrepreneur too. That was what, your second business? Started a third since you retired?
Yes, I was the founder of Echo Consulting, which we formed in 1964, and we had a two-tier company. We custom designed systems for the major corporations in Pittsburgh, and we also designed packaged software for local governments throughout the eastern United States.
I know early in your career you did a stint for Douglas Aircraft. What made you certain you were an entrepreneur at heart?
It was in the family. My father had been a steel worker, and the only advice he gave me in my whole life was don't be a steel worker, son, because the opportunities are somewhat difficult. So my father had started a mechanical contracting company when he was about 40 years old, and he had some success in plumbing and heating. And at one time I worked for him, and I wasn't particularly good at either of those fields, so I went off to Pitt, the University of Pittsburgh, and got a degree in engineering. And at that time, Sputnik was the big cause in the U.S., and we were concerned that the Russians had passed us up in technology. So the aerospace industries came to every university and offered every engineering graduate in the country a job to work in the aerospace so that we could catch up with the Russians. And I was one of the ones that took the job, as did several of my classmates. And very early I was put into the computer world, which was a random selection by the company and not me. So I learned about computer programming on the best and brightest environments that you could find, and I was doing some really advanced work on missile simulations. And I decided to come back to Pittsburgh because my parents were getting a little bit older. They needed a little bit of support, and I never regretted coming back. The one thing I found out in Pittsburgh is if you can make it in Pittsburgh, you can make it anywhere.
Well, there's a word to the wise, and we'll take that to heart given the recession that we're facing right now. What would you say to those middle-level executives or others who are either worried about their job security, or maybe they've lost their job and they're thinking now is the time to sort of start my own business?
I think the timing right now is perfect. Obviously, there's a lot of people that are being laid off. You heard the the numbers, about 1.9 million people this year, and without December, which is probably going to get us over 2.5 million. When you become an entrepreneur, you know, you take responsibility for yourself, and that's why I became so infatuated with the University of Pittsburgh's Institute for Entrepreneurial Excellence. I was a student in their entrepreneurial class way back in 1999, and after having run businesses for 35 years, I think I learned more in that one-year program than I learned in all those prior years. For the first time ever, our company began doing strategic planning, not just in our own vacuum, but incorporating all the employees of our company in the process, and they all learned what it was all about. We put it into operation, and having been basically a survival firm for about 35 years, we began making profits. And that's not a bad idea at all, because without profits, actually, you're not going to be able to survive. So, and it led to selling our company for about $25 million in July of this year.
So you really credit the ability to do the strategic planning and really grow that business rapidly for the transition and what ultimately happened.
I give the credit, total credit, to the Institute for Entrepreneurial Excellence, and since that time we have about 200 members that are now alumni of that program, and they meet on a regular basis. They have roundtable discussions, and what better place when you can sit with 7 or 8 CEOs and talk about issues that are affecting your business every day. There was an interesting part of the educational program where they showed a company that was growing at 40% a year, and profits were growing at 20% a year. And the instructor said, "Who would like to invest in that company?" And 100% of them, including myself, we put our hand up. What a great company! And the bottom line was that company went bankrupt shortly thereafter with those great numbers. And the reason was that it was short of cash. And believe it or not, 3 years later, the same thing actually happened to us. We were growing 30 or 40% each year, and we were making growth in profits of 20%, and we actually made $1.5 million one year, and we owed the government about $600 because they always went their share, and it was all in receivables. And if our accountant hadn't been able to get us a bank loan to cover that, we, like in today's world where the credits or lines are very difficult at this time, we would have been in trouble.
Could kill a business. So, so whether you're a novice entrepreneur or even experienced, the Institute for Entrepreneurial Excellence sounds like can be a terrific resource to get you started or help you grow.
It's truly for entrepreneurs. Their website is www.pittentrepreneur.com.
All right, that's a pretty easy one to remember. pittentrepreneur.com. Joe Ott, thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Funnigan.
Next up, take a deep breath. There's a fairly healthy outlook in healthcare. Plus, the National Aviary in Pittsburgh takes flight. Stay with it.